What is going on? What is going on? This is Sports Game Vision, Sports Night. We are in the building tonight. Hope you're having a great, wonderful day, great weekend, beginning of the weekend, or for some of you young folks, Thursday's the start of the weekend. Some of y'all even Wednesday. But anyhow, hope everything's going well for you. As you can see, little NBA draft talk, some Paul George talk, some WNBA talk, some boxing and baseball talk as well. I am your host again, Hank with Sports Game Vision. Riding a little solo tonight, but that's okay. We still gonna do our thing, of course. Here we talk sports. We have a little fun here. Make sure as you jump in the building, you like and support the channel with all the freebies. Hit all those like buttons and subscribe and notification, comment, help the algorithm, share the content along. You'd also reach out to the show here with all the other information here, or of course, the backdoor channel of just DMs and all that good stuff. But either way, we are going to talk these sports. We're gonna hit the banner and we will be right back. Once again, back in the building. We're going to start the show off with news as I normally do. Sometimes I start off with topics, but we're going to start off with the news. We haven't been back on a live show in a while. Of course, we always do Fridays. I'm trying to do more throughout the week, and we're going to jump on that. But right now, let's talk about Roman Reigns' dad, Sika Anoa'I. If I'm saying the last name right or wrong, it's hard for me to pronounce it, but the Sika is part of the Wild Samoans. Roman Reigns' father is, I remember watching him growing up. He passed away. The high chief, I guess he would be, of the family. Rest in peace. A Hall of Famer. Of course, he gives us the father of the great Roman Reigns, one of the greatest of all time, I'm sure at this point, and will probably be by the time he retires. But provide a great contribution to the wrestling world and, of course, the Samoan family. And prayers to his family and condolences. And sorry for their loss. A tough transition here, but we will move forward and still talk a little bit about wrestling. And Shane McMahon is interested in going to AEW, which is very, very interesting. We know the situation that he had with his father. We also know that before Shane left the company, he got an injury in WrestleMania. I don't know if you guys saw that. He tore both of his muscles, Achilles or whatever. Same injury his dad had. If you ever remember watching that Royal Rumble when the finish was messed up, he came out and blew out his legs. Same injury pretty much. He did the same thing around the same age, and we haven't seen him since. But we know he had some, interesting backstage incidents that happened between a few WrestleManias, between his brother, sister, his father, his sister and his father, his brother-in-law and sister and father, and some of the wrestlers in the back. Shane was trying to push too much muscle, but either way, he obviously loves the business and wants to be back into it. And he is in the back channels reaching out to Tony Khan to go to AEW. And as you can see here, Tony said, I heard the rumor he might be interested. I met Shane, but we have a lot of mutual friends. I've not met Shane, but we have a lot of mutual friends. I have a lot of respect for him as an executive and a professional wrestler. Shane is always welcome in AEW. And, Shane is the billionaire son, pretty much. He wrestled. He was a fan favorite. I liked him when he wrestled in WWE. Show me the money. It'll be very interesting if he crossed the lines. I mean, in this case, I guess that his dad sold everything and he probably doesn't have any interest in WWE anymore either. So he can go over there and maybe wrestle and bring a little fanfare over to AEW and try to compete with WWE. It'd be very interesting to see that happen. Rumors of Vince not having any more shares in WWE is kind of Nobody really knows. They say that he got rid of him. There's rumors he still has a few left. So maybe this is an entryway to work with Tony in the future through Shane, or maybe it's something separate. So we don't know. It'd be very interesting to see. Stephanie's back in WWE with her husband. Shane would go to AEW, and the rumor mill of maybe Vince once the shares are sold, his compete clause is done, he'd be able to maybe buy another company himself, and we don't know. Maybe he'll partner with AEW. Maybe he'll buy TNA. Maybe he'll go after another company. We'll see how that works out. Maybe he'll resurrect ROH from Tony and make that his brand. We don't know how it's going to go, but be very interesting to see how those plans work out. Let me know what you think in the comments section. You think he's going to go AEW, or what's the word on the streets? As we move forward here, how do you guys feel about the Wyatt Sicks? They made their entrance recently. Got over 3 million views on YouTube. Of course, across social media, there's over 25 million shared and watched. Very big debut. Has been teased for a while. Of course, his Bray Wyatt's faction, his real life brothers in here. A lot of people he's worked with is in the faction as well. I think that Triple H is going to do a good job at, making this thing work. They seem like because of what happened, they almost like a baby face, but, of course we'll see how they do the storyline, how tough they are, whether they're going to be a heel or not, and whether they're going to go across different brands. Right now I see Raw, but I think Triple H is going to do a great job with it. He slow rolled it. He's been slow rolling a lot of his content since he's been in charge fully. He's given stories the way I grew up when Vince was doing that back in the day, really rolling storylines out. And Triple H is doing it across all of the shows. He's lessening the amount of matches and pay-per-views and pushed them to other shows, making SmackDown and Raw, and all the other shows that are being paid for by Netflix feel like pay-per-views, and Amazon and all these other shows, CW, they feel like real pay-per-views because they're able to spread out the storylines and the content. Everything doesn't have to be pushed to PLE or pay-per-view. So, Triple H doing a great job so far, and I think that, they'll do everything they can to make the legacy of Bray Wyatt very special. They can't really afford to mess this up. The fans are, really looking forward to making this work out, and especially since him and his brother waited all those years to really work together, finally had the chance, and he passed away. Looking forward to see them make this work out and make that faction really strong and great and Hall of Fame like. So we'll see what happened there. Shout out to them, and be very interested to see how the story goes. As we move forward, we're still talking about wrestling. We haven't been talking about a lot of wrestling on the platform lately, but I want to dig into it. All my wrestling fans, definitely go in the comment section and give me your comments about different ideas and storylines you want to talk about. But I stick to mainly WWE. I do look at the other ones here and there, but it's easier for me to watch WWE because for all the other sports that I watch. So got to kind of condense what I do. But what do you think about the title change recently with R-Truth, Awesome Truth, losing the titles finally to, the Judgment Day? They won it off the Judgment Day, if I'm not mistaken, and then they're losing it to them. But it was probably time. They didn't really give them the greatest storylines. They're just a nice run. R-Truth had a WrestleMania moment. Miz had another one himself. Both of them will probably be Hall of Famers again in the future. And but speaking, R-Truth is the one that I really, really want to talk about in this case. He had some very, very interesting comments recently, talking about his career. And I'm piled in on the back there, guys, but it's okay. You see the picture, R-Truth. He was the first Black NWA champion, and he's questioned his career. If you know how his career has gone in WWE, especially, there's been a lot of gimmick and comedy acts going on, and he was even called out a little bit by not say called out, but Kevin Nash talked about how he knew how talented he was, and it was just like sad to see him relegated to that role of just being comedy and stupid acts when they know his talent level is top notch in main event. And our truth has said it. He kind of regrets where his career is ended, or he feels like he should have done more. And he's still a champion, multi-time champion. He's had a great career, but I think the seriousness of his character is where I think he's regretting the comedy acts. A lot of it's probably pushed on, probably from the old brass, which is Vince and whoever else was in charge back then. Because our truth is, Ron Killings is, he has great comedic timing, and the rumor was that he kept Vince laughing. So you know how Vince mind works. He probably put him in a lot of comedic roles after that, instead of taking him serious with his wrestling talent. But it kept him in the business. You want to be on TV. A lot of wrestlers and women and men, especially of African American or minorities, had to get in where they fit in, so to speak, in that time frame and in the period of time when Vince ruled, especially in the 80s and 90s. And sometimes I guess the 2000s, you had to, make sure you can get on TV screen and just to show some of your talent. This way you can go in other companies and get a check somewhere else and hopefully prove how great you were anyway. Hope you want to do it in the company. But again, you got to take what's allotted to you. And I think that's what R-Truth did. He took what was allotted to him at the time instead of just rejecting it and then moving on. Obviously he could have went somewhere else and did some things, but you're talking about the top company in the world. It's like leaving NFL, it's like leaving the NBA, and you don't know what's going to happen when you leave. But I think he does regret some of that. But either way, I got my fan. I was rooting for him to come back. I didn't know how severe his injuries were. I think he was going to lose a leg, and they saved it. And of course, he's back over 50 years old, doing backflips and turns and bumps and looking great out there, like a 20, 30-year-old. So shout out to him, Hall of Fame. Still a great career, but I understand where he's coming from. He wish he could have been in that top main event with more seriousness and on his character in the ring. But shout out to R-Truth, and still a great champion, Hall of Famer. As we move forward here a little bit, guys, we're still going to talk about the news. I don't know what you see here, but this weekend is going to be boxing. The next few weekends is going to be boxing. And we got Teofimo Lopez, and I believe his name is Steve Claggett. They're going to fight on Saturday. Should be a simple one for Teofimo. Champion, he should win it. Yeah, he's got, 20-1. He's young in his 20s. His opponent's 35. He's like, 35-7 or something like that. He's got 30-7. He's definitely got a lot of experience in the ring, as far as time in the ring and fights he's took. But I think this should be a tune-up for Teo. He's trying to fight the bigger names in his division, and of course, if he has to go up in the future, he can't afford this loss, especially in this ESPN top rank, where I think he probably wants to leave because the financial situation. He already retired briefly, but again, I like to see him fight. He's been winning the last few fights dominantly, and I'm gonna try to peep that out. Of course, it's on ESPN. If you got the app, it's kind of like a recording. You can watch it later. So, or wherever, however you're gonna watch it, it should be a good fight in the card. I'm sure it should be pretty decent as well. As we stick with boxing, we're gonna look at here another match coming up this fall, I believe. Dubois versus Joshua. I believe it's September 17th or around that time. It's going to be for a vacated championship from Usyk, who had to relinquish the belt because somehow he didn't defend it in time. Even though he defended they fought each other in the match recently, him and Tyson Fury, that should count. And I don't understand how he has to relinquish it, but they're forcing him. He decided to let it go. I guess he probably wasn't going to fight again right away, and they're going to take this relinquished or vacated belt and they will fight for it. Both of these guys, in my opinion, Dubois, in my opinion, beat Usyk in that fight. Of course, Fury, in my opinion, lost to Ngannou. So that undefeated, unification to me really should have been one loss apiece. But these guys here have a shot to get a belt and then try to reunify once the Usyk versus Fury fight happens, and um, I guess it'll be a bigger fight with another belt on the line. So we'll see how they chop that up. I saw the press conference or the video presentation between Dubois and Joshua. It was kind of entertaining with the promoters there trying to promote the fight. But yeah, I mean, the way that Usyk fight went with Dubois, it should be entertaining and a good fight. And I believe they're both British fighters. So let's see how that happens here. As we move forward, we're going to jump into the NBA basketball. We're going to hit a quick pause for the calls before that, and we'll be right back. Sorry about that live recording, but you got to do what you got to do. But we're going to talk about the NBA draft here. As you can see, we went down. Both rounds were completed. It's a 2-round event at this point in time now. You can see it what Atlanta got. Zachary Ricochet, the second pick overall was Alex Sarr, who I thought was going to actually be number 1. Somehow, I guess he blocked that. He didn't. The rumors were he didn't want to go to Atlanta. You got Edie and, of course, Connect over in the Lakers selected him with their pick for the 17th. Very interesting draft, in my opinion. When you watch the first round, especially, most of the talking points were a lot of these gentlemen, not just in this picture, but I'm talking about the whole draft, were a lot of developmental players. Guys that are going to take years to develop, and they can score but not defend well, all that type of stuff. And my thoughts are, where do you guys think that the draft should be at this point? I know over the last, I don't know how many years now, is really been developmental guys you got to wait on. There used to be a point in time when you go on the draft, guys were already made for your team to help right away. If you look at here, Connect and Edie should help right away. With being the senior seasoned seniors they are, and the age they come out very, very mature, skill sets develop more, and should be able to contribute to a team right away, playoff teams. The younger talent, like you see here, they'll get playing time, but they're going to have to develop more. And not necessarily, if you put them into a winning situation, would they be able to help right away, because they'll need time to develop a little bit more, including the guys that get the super seniors here. They're going to need time to adjust, but they should come out ready, especially they play for some big time programs. But, the second round was very interesting too. And we see that, another big name came out, but we're going to, talk about that in 1 second. I feel that the draft, and especially now with the NIL money coming through, and the collegiate level should be stronger. Guys should probably stay longer. Hopefully the coaching will coach the organizations, or the universities will coach these players up the right way on both sides of the ball. This way, when they do get to the pro level, they're ready to go. Of course, there's going to be guys that still leave out. Finances are going to be better on the upper level. Some of them are still going to go to the G League or overseas. But I do think the collegiate level will bring out more ready stars and bigger names than what we've been used to in the recent past or present, as I will say here. But they will be better names, sort of like when we were watching the women's draft. Man, we were excited about the names that were coming out because the presentation was just better throughout these years of promoting these women. The men will have to do the same. And of course, the women are getting developed even better on their end. So hopefully the men will fall in line, especially the American players. And if you watch that first round, especially, it just seemed like it was a lot of foreign players getting drafted. And we know that's part of the league now. But, it'd be nice to have some number one picks that are born from the country here in America as well. And we'll see how that works out. But either way, the draft was very interesting being 2 days. And the big part of the night was for the first night was to see what the Lakers were going to do. And then, of course, I was very interested in seeing where Edie was going to go. Okay. They kept saying they don't need the big man in the league. He has no room. It's all about shooting. I really believe his game can still translate into this NBA. You can't teach 7'4", but he does have, good feet and handwork. And of course, he clogs that paint. He should be able to do the pick and pop well with Ja Morant and the other guards that are on the team. And I think he's got value. The same thing that Steven Adams did, he could do, and I believe he's a better shooter. So, very, very looking forward to seeing him have some success, especially right away. But yeah, he got drafted. But the biggest draft of the biggest pick of the night, or the second night, was Bronny James going to the Los Angeles Lakers to pair up with his dad. It'll be the first father-son duo in NBA history playing together. At the same time, as you can see Ken Griffey Jr. over there with his dad. It's going to be very fun to see that. I was looking forward to it. I didn't think he should have got picked number 17. I thought that was too much. But number 55 is definitely not a bad spot. I know there's going to be backlash for it. You can see here, people are going to say nepotism. And you can see here, Charlotte Flair and Ric Flair. And she got help to get in that position because of who her dad is. One of the greatest of all time. Doesn't take away from her talent. Because Charlotte Flair is great on the mic. She's great in the wrestling ring. She's deserving. She's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. But she's got a big push because of who her dad was. He was able to put her in positions. He kept her at the top of the card, really, because of him. If it was Charlotte Anderson, she would have still made the WWE, but it'd have been harder for her. She'd have probably been a champion, but being the benefit of that being your dad helps. And for Bronny James Jr., having your dad as LeBron James absolutely helps. But of course, you got to work for it. And I believe he has worked for it. He's put the work in. Number 55 pick. If you're not Draymond Green or Nikola Jokic, the second round picks, they have value, but everybody's not going to be, all-time great. You're taking somebody that comes to make history and will possibly, I think, will be a good player in the league. Just watching film on him. He had a bad year last year. Health issue, I think, really derailed him. Coming back from something like that is tough. And get back into the rhythm of things and start, missing the training camps and all that. And I just think that coming with his dad's going to look out for him. He's going to try to make him avoid some of the mistakes and pitfalls of being a young man. It's actually a bonus to have his dad playing with him, because any mistakes that LeBron made, he's going to make sure Bronny Jr. is not going to do. He's going to put him with the right trainers, the right staff, the right meals, keep him away from trouble. He can keep an eye out on him. Of course, he's a young man. He's going to do what he's going to do, but he's in a position where somebody, veterans that we always talk about that we need in this league, is going to be able to be right there by him. And it's his father. I'm sure he's very proud. His mother is very proud, brothers and sisters. And, let's talk about the mindset of Bronny. Bronny's got to be very tough minded. He went through this health scare, but just his name is LeBron James Jr. We call him Bronny, but he's LeBron James Jr. That's a lot of pressure that he's had to deal with his whole life, being the son and the junior of LeBron James. Most people don't have to deal with that. LeBron James didn't have that pressure. LeBron James Jr. does. He has to follow his father, the all-time leading scorer, the greatest of all time in a lot of people's books, in my book. All the history he's making, he's got to follow that. And I know comments are going to be made. People are going to put pressure on him. They're going to challenge him. His brother and his sister are probably not going to have to go through those things that he's going through. He's taking the bullet pretty much for everybody else. He's got to put his shield up. So he's got to be very tough-minded to deal with that. Him and his mother as well, who came out and talked about how she always had to fight because of who her husband was, especially when she first met him. She had to fight women because they were jealous, and she probably had to go through a whole lot of that. So she has to be very tough-minded, keeping her position and taking her stance on her family and her husband and her children. So especially Bronny's going to take a big blunt of it. But I do think with his dad being there for a couple more years, he's going to help to develop him as the very best he can. And then by the time he leaves, then he's going to have to really, really be ready, because that's when the real test is going to start. That's when people are going to really challenge him, because with his dad there and the shield around him, they're only going to go so far, because they know that Pops is there and he's got a good security team there to fend things off. But when he's alone and when Bron is retired and out the way, that's when the challenge is going to come, a bigger challenge. And by that time, defense on lock, shooting on crazy, being hopefully a very, very good rotational player to where nobody can say anything, is the work will show. So shout out to him. I'm rooting for him. If you've been a fan of my page, you've been on my other platforms like Instagram and Twitter, I've always been rooting for him, especially since I've seen the growth in him, height and in athleticism, and see him on the levels coming up, and knowing that he had a chance to make the league. This is going to be historic, man. I'm looking forward to seeing it in the Lakers uniform. Rob Pelinka talked about it. It's part of the reason they drafted him, alongside his mindset, his maturity, and what he also can bring to the table. But of course, they weren't going to let this not be in a Lakers uniform. They're making history, just like Junior and his dad back in the day. So shout out to the Laker family. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But we are going to move forward as usual, and we're going to jump into another topic. It's about music and sports. We know the beef, I guess, Kendrick's been having with Drake. And it's just very interesting to me how I feel about the influence music and sports have on each other, not just basketball, just sports in general. But if you listen to the lyrics, he brings up references to sports, and Drake's done it throughout his career as well. We got my brother here from Lakerland family, and Get Your Bars Up Media. BA is going to talk about who influences each other more. Is it sports? Is it music? Or is it a tie? Let's check it out.
So, great question. What influences one more, hip hop or sports? Honestly, I think that they both are synonymous. And what I mean by synonymous is they both coincide with each other. When you start talking about hip hop, you're talking about a form of art. When you talk about basketball, you're talking about another form of art. They're both two different things, but yet they do the same. They do the same thing. It sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but honestly, at the end of the day, even though they're both two different parts, two different types of entertainment or two different types of art, it's all art at the end of the day, and it's all entertainment. And what makes it super dope is that they both complement each other well. You have artists who want to be hip hop artists, who want to be ballers, and they claim and they swear they love basketball and everything. They be wearing the basketball jerseys. They be using references like my guy Kendrick. He talks about Kobe a lot. R.I.P to the great Nipsey Hussle used to talk about Kobe and LeBron a lot, etc. And then you have on the other side, you got people like LeBron James rapping Kendrick Lamar verses, swearing that he raps, going to the studio, acting like he rap. Kevin Durant acting like you rap, saying the J. Cole verses, and R.I.P. to the late great Kobe. Kobe used to recite Lil Wayne verses all the time. So I don't think one influences the other more per se, but I think they both complement each other and they're both very, very synonymous. And the thing that's super dope about them as well is each one of them has different eras of greatness. And this is what makes it even dope for both of them and makes them even more synonymous. You have your early eras, which are you can say your pillars or your forefathers of each entertainment piece of art. Where you have in basketball, you have your Bill Russells, your Bob Cousy's, your Wilt Chamberlains, etc. You have all of that, the Jerry West, you have all of that, right? And then you transition through time and you have you then have your Dr. J, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan. Keep transitioning forward. You have your Shaquille O'Neal, your Kobe Bryant, your LeBron James, etc. going forward. And if you go to the music side, you had your Eric B. Rakims, you had your Big Daddy Kane, your LL Cool J's, your KRS-Ones, you feel me? You had all of that transition. Then you had your Snoop Dogg's, your Tupac's, transition forward. Well, I can't forget B.I.G. Don't get mad because I'm saying names. I'm saying that I can't name everybody because there's so many talented gods in hip hop. But you fast forward to that when you get past the Jay-Z, the DMXs and everything, you got your 50 Cents. Once again, you got your Eminems, and then you transition to your Lil Waynes. Now you got your Drakes, you got your Kendrick Lamars, you have your J. Cole's. It's like through time, and both aspects of art, which is basketball and synonymously hip hop. You have different eras of people who were considered great and put up to the forefront who helped carry the culture forward and kept it hot and kept it entertaining while giving homage and paying homage to the people that came before them. So when you start talking about this particular subject, they both coincide with each other and they both equal each other out. And yeah, that's my opinion about it.
You see the great response from my brother BA, well thought out, and I couldn't agree with him any more. I do believe it's a balance between the both. Um, it's a lot of athletes that were failed musicians, and a lot of musicians that were failed athletes, and I think that a lot of times they want to do the other once they become successful at the other one, if that makes any sense. Even just like a personal, like if I go play basketball or if I go work out, I'm listening to music, right? And if I'm listening to some music, you probably want to go work out or something, just go play some ball or something. It's just that, I think it's a natural thing, especially for people that are a fan of both. And you play the game, sports games, you're listening to music. But in terms of, different athletes, let's just look at a few. Master P played in the NBA slightly. I believe he played in the preseasons for the Rafters and for the Charlotte Hornets. We know who he is, a multi-platinum hip hop legend from New Orleans, right? And made the Tank famous, and he of course, other businesses, entertainment business he made for himself. But he was a basketball player back in the day before he started rapping, and he got to play in the league for a little bit to fulfill some sort of a dream. But of course, it just shows the link between sports and music. Let's look at another one. Snoop Dogg hanging out with Usyk. He got on the Death Row chains, the new Death Row. And of course, I believe Snoop again hanging out with Bret Hart. Now, if you recognize, Snoop has been in the wrestling business for a while. He's been in a couple matches. I'm sure it's something he probably may have wanted to do when he was younger, but he's also getting paid to do it. But again, it just shows you how sports and music coincide with each other. You've got people like J. Cole, playing in the African League. It was the NBL. He tried to make it into the NBA, wasn't able to, but he got to play in the other league. And of course, we know the great career he's had in hip hop. We talk about Shaq. Shaq has also had a great career, multi-time platinum artist. I forgot this. I believe his album, the third album, came out, got re-released, I believe yesterday. But I forgot he was the first artist to have Jay-Z and Nas on the same track. I forgot about that song. It's been so long. But again, Shaq still raps to this day. He's got a love for it. And I remember him as a kid doing it. And I was still a fan of Shaq with the music, but of course, bigger fan with the basketball. And of course, we got guys like Antonio Brown, football player. He raps. Had a great NFL career. We know the incidents he's had, but he was a great player. He raps as well. So, I believe Nelly used to play baseball, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of artists that played. Dave East used to play against Kevin Durant and them. So he ended up, of course, becoming a hip hop artist and having great things there. So just so many artists that can go either way. Oh, Cameron and Mace, forgot about them. So any other ones you could think of, definitely put in the comment section. NFL, NBA, MLB. I know there's a lot of them, but they definitely coincide with each other, especially if you're you love both. One, you're probably better at one than the other sometimes. Sometimes you're good at both and you still have to choose. It's just the timing issue, or you still might have more finances on one side than the other. But either way, I think that the Kendrick Lamar beef with Drake, he goes in there talking about sweet chin music and talks about Kobe and all that stuff. Drake has always talked about Steph Curry in the pot, all that stuff, Chef Curry with the pot, all that stuff, they coincide with each other. I even like LeBron rap before too, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, shout out to them. Music is definitely not just hip hop. There's artists that sing. I remember Wayman Tisdale, rest in peace. He played like a whole bunch of different instruments and was had albums out. I believe he was close to a Grammy if he didn't win one back in the day. Played for the Phoenix Suns. You could look him up. But yes, a lot of artists that music that do both, artists and sports and athletes. So let us know what you think in the comment section about it. And if you got any more athletes, artists that you could think of, definitely let me know. We're going to move forward here. And we're going to talk more about basketball. Our guy, Paul George, brought up an interesting conversation that I wanted to talk about here. We're going to play the clip and then come back.
Did you see the Jabari Parker when he got all emotional?
I saw that.
And crying.
I felt for him.
Is there anybody else that that had an NBA career that was a top pick, top draft, whatever, and we didn't get to see him?
First of all, shout out Jabari Parker in that moment, man. I thought that was a beautiful moment of just him releasing his emotions of the roller coaster that he's been through. My time in Oklahoma City, there was a kid named Deonte Burton. You probably don't know who he is.
Yeah.
But it was I used to ask, why we don't play him? I swear, I used to be why we don't give him, because he played some games when guys went down, they'll plug him in garbage time or they'll plug him in spurt moments. But I used to see him in practice, and I would see him his G League games or D League. I don't know what it was at that time. He was like Zion before Zion.
Wow.
He had that physique, more muscular though. Jump out the gym, strong as an ox, and would lock your ass up.
No, I believe it, and that's why you why we don't play him.
If you YouTube him, Deonte Burton, you'd be like, God damn.
Deonte
Where'd he go to
Burton.
college? Do you know?
Iowa State. He was a guy that I was like, man, that's just how the NBA is. You don't get a chance, you kind of passed out. You know what I mean? It's hard to get into this game. If you don't get a chance to get into this game, people just they won't see how good you are.
What is he doing now?
He's still playing. I think he's playing overseas. I actually talked to him a little bit through Instagram not too long ago. When I saw this segment, initially, I was like, damn, that's somebody that I really wish had an opportunity.
Yeah, guys, we had a little technical difficulty. Hopefully, you heard the full clip. But either way, it's Paul George talking about opportunities in the NBA. And, so many talented players out there. I've heard it throughout different players' podcasts, and even just watching basketball from growing up. You get to see different players, and you'll see them make moves and get in for a little bit of playing time. And you're like, well, how come he don't get more playing time? It's a lot of business and politics involved in it, but he initially was talking about Jabari Parker having his emotional take on being back in the game, his love for the game. He didn't know he was going to play again throughout all these injuries, the pressure he had being the number 2 pick, and being able to play again and find the love for the game again. And if you've ever had love for anything in your life, if you've had problems with creating or performing or just things getting in the way, you can fall out of love with it or just lose focus. And easily he got a way to regain his focus and his love and passion for it, being able to play and just drown out all the distractions and being healthy again. For Jabari, and shout out to him playing overseas. But Paul George is talking about Burton over here, Deonte Burton, a guy that he said was just crazy talented, was in practice and just showing he belonged with the best of them, but of course didn't get a lot of playing time. There's a lot of stories like that. If you watch Gil's Arena, been other podcasts you listen to, they bring up players that, they don't necessarily get the chance. And it just shows you that there's talent out there that can absolutely go out there and make a name for themselves if given the opportunity. And it's going to take some, the coaches to do it. I think, teams that need talent probably can showcase these guys more. But if you're on a team that has max salary players on there, or Hall of Famers, or coaches that trying to keep their winning percentage a certain way, you may not be able to get in and showcase yourself because the politics of the game. And everybody wants to keep their house in order, and it's kind of holding you back. But, shout out to, that's why I'm happy that there's a big 3. That's why I'm happy there's other leagues that these guys can go to and still play professionally. But it'd be nice to be able to see them be in the league as far as the NBA as well and get more opportunities to showcase themselves. There should be more ways to do that on other teams, especially the bottom feeders. But we need the coaches to definitely play these players that got the talent, and whether it's garbage minutes or whatever the case may be, so they can showcase themselves and other teams and GMs can see it and possibly just make some deals for them or pick them up in off season. But yeah, it's very interesting, especially with this draft being here. This week was the draft, and we're talking about talent and future talent. All these guys have talent and can be developed. It's all about just getting the opportunities. And of course, again, I know with the Bronny situation, I know the NBA community and the LeBron haters are going to come down. I'm not upset with, him getting a little bit of a helping hand. In life, you're going to need that. So you're going to need a helping hand somewhere. Even if you're just trying to get a job, somebody got to hire you. If you had a business or somebody they want to just hire you just because they have the opportunity to do it. They have the means to bring their people up and or their loved ones up, and there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, you gotta work for, earn everything you got, but sometimes you could use a little help, and there's nothing wrong with it. So that's my thoughts on the nepotism thing. Everybody's got it. If you look throughout the league, what was it, Doc Rivers and his son, who was it? It's kind of nepotism, I guess. We're gonna talk about him in a second. The Jalen Brunson, Rick Brunson in New York, he got that extra deal, I'm sure, because his dad was there and working in the organization. Not to mention he was already a very good player, but getting that bag at the time, everyone thought it was that was too much money. Nah, it's not too much money now, right? So everybody gets it. Just look throughout the league, all the coaches that got in coaching positions because of their fathers, used to coach in the past, all that stuff. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with it as long as you have credentials and you're working hard and you're doing the right thing. Of course, if you're not doing a good job, you're gonna get fired and let go anyway. So, but either way, we're talking about Paul George and players that need to get a chance and opportunity. hopefully those guys will. But it also, again, it goes to show you to make sure you watch some of these guys that don't, get a lot of playing time. But when they're in there, watch them because you don't know who might be another star or be a breakout star, or might be able to watch them in another league and see them become stars in another league. But either way, we're going to move forward with the show, and we're still going to talk a little bit about basketball. And as you can see there, we're talking a little bit about the WNBA. The reports are that they're going to lose more than $50 billion coming up in the projected season. They're just saying that they can't report on it officially because they'll get in trouble, but there's people within the WNBA organization that are coming out and saying how much money that they're losing, and also that the NBA is really funding them to keep them alive. I don't think that is, a secret. We all know that they've been subsidized as they should. I think that the women should have their own league. I think they're still babies though, the NBA had to go through a different budget when they came around, but also, male dominated sport and society at that time. They were definitely supporting the league in main society, but I'm sure I know they had their financial struggles. It just took time for them to get over the hump. And I believe with these women now, they'll eventually hit a stride where they'll start making big money and the league will be profitable. It's just, right now they were 27 years in the league in existence, and it's gonna need some more time. Now they've got their crop of stars that should help them start turning over things. If you look at the financial structure, just look at the NBA, the NFL, MLB, NHL, and soccer. And we're going to look at the top women's franchises. Look at that, 90 million. That's the lower end. The most profitable is the Aces, of course, and they won 2 back-to-back championships. I heard their facilities were nice. Even Candace Parker said that was the best facility she ever been in all of her career. She didn't even have her own, I guess, locker area and things of that nature. And she did with the Aces. It's a lot of money. Look at that. I mean, even if we go back down to the lower part of the teams that are tied for the most valuable franchises, a lot of money, but it pales in comparison to the men who are 5,500 times the amount of the value of a women's league. And it's crazy. But again, the men's leagues have been around for a very, very long time. And I do believe the women will get there. They're getting brand deals at this point. The new crop of women are going to come in with these NILs. It's helping get more brand deals. They're using everything from their looks and beauty to getting shoe deals. It's going to definitely help the league, and especially with these players coming out that are dynamic, like Caitlin and Angel, and we got Juju coming right afterwards. It's going to be interesting to see how the marketing of the league will help, not only with the play style, but the marketing of the league, how the league is going to adjust to make sure it's comfortable for the new players with newer playing styles, where they make sure that they're successful, like when the men came in and started changing the league up, with the Jordans and the Kobe's and the LeBrons, and in the new era now with the 3-point shot changed everything. So we'll see what happens with the ladies, but I do think not a panic in my opinion. I believe the NBA, they got so much money, they're going to continue to subsidize it, and the women will catch up to it eventually. But as we move forward here, we're going to talk a little bit about baseball. We've been talking about that recently, and we talked about the Negro Leagues recently. We had BA Code 7 on the show, and we talked about the Negro League stats being merged into the MLB stats. I brought up a statement about, not being enough Black or African American players, and my guy King Griffey is addressing that. He's got the HBCU Classic. It's coming again this year. I think it's during All-Star Weekend. But he has a program to put a spotlight on the lack of development and growth for Black players in the Major League Baseball, all levels. And I believe it was at one point between the 80s and the 90s, like 18% Black. If you go back to the 70s, it was 27% Black. As we go into the new era here in 2024, it's only 6% Black players in the league. I remember Curtis Granderson, who used to play for my Detroit Tigers. He got traded to the Yankees, and he just looked in the stands. I forgot the name of the other player. There's 2 Black players, him and another player. And they looked in the stands, and there was no Black fans. And he just thought, like, wow, this is just so weird and different from when he grew up, when he was growing up and seeing more of a Black audience, at least more representation, of course, and Black players. And I'm glad that the MLB Association and Ken Griffey is attacking that, trying to, remedy the situation. It's going to take time. But I also talked about earlier on the shows, a guy named Terrence Moore was on a show talking with Al Sharpton. He is a sports contributor and writer. And he was talking about, he was friends with Hank Aaron, and he talked to a lot of players in that 70s and 80s, and there was systematic trying to take the Black players out the game, which is crazy. And they said the players knew it. There was like it wasn't a lot of computer stuff back then, but they had like ways of checking to see what your ethnicity, and they're trying to get you not being drafted and all that stuff. And it's almost like a big conspiracy to keep the Black player development and recruitment and drafting out of the league. And he said by the turn of the century it would be 10% or lower, and it's at 6%. So it's exactly where he wrote an article about it back in the day. And it's crazy to see that it's a systematic thing. Like, so there's still some inroads and some things they need to fix in the game to make it right. So I'm glad that Ken Griffey is part of the change and one of the greatest to ever to play. And if you ever seen him, if you like baseball, his swing is one of the best ever in the game of baseball. Him and Barry Bonds, but Barry Bonds, and my other guy was Darryl Strawberry. So one of the sweetest swings, and he's going to try to, take his talents and his historic career and try to make change. And I like that. So just wanted to give a recap and a update on the story. And then when I get more, of course, we'll talk about it even more. But I'm glad that you're trying to fix the issue that's going on. Well, guys, that is pretty much it for me today. I talked enough. Technical difficulties, I'm sorry about that. But that's the name of the game. We still keep the show on the road. Make sure to like everything. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bells. We come on this show every week, Friday Night Live. And of course, like I just said, make sure to like everything and make sure to support the channel in all ways that you can. You can email and backdoor, the topics you want to talk about or whatever you want to know about the channel or support the channel, you can. I'm also on all these other platforms. But before we get out of here, I didn't put it in here. Give me 1 second. I didn't have a chance to. But I also want to talk about Jalen Brunson. I usually have a section called Sports Motivation. Haven't done it in a while, but I read a meme talking about Jalen Brunson talking about his dad. And he says, I remember being with him on a bike while he's running in one of those sweats, trash bag suits in the summer, then shoots, then pick up 5-6 times a week. This is what he did to be on 8 unguaranteed contracts. Seeing that, understanding how hard he had to work. That's how hard I had to work. And I remember, I don't know if you guys seen the clip of his dad. I guess his mom was in the background, training him to, as a young kid to become a player. And as you can see, he's become a great player. He's the new guy. I root for him a lot. Isaiah Thomas, my all-time favorite. He reminds me of him a lot. And I think he can bring a title to New York. But, it just shows, as far as sports motivation, you got to put the hard work in. You got to believe in yourself, good people in your corner. But also when you're, when I do the sports motivation segment, the reason I do it is because when I was growing up, that's how I really got into sports, reading quotes. And then from there, I got into sports. But In this case, when you got people in your corner that you could look up to, that show you greatness, you don't have to look further than anywhere else but there. Beyond the Lord himself, you got your father, your actual parents, guardians, family members, big cousins or anything like that, aunts, uncles, even like a brother and sister. If they're showing you greatness and showing you great leadership, you don't have to go any further than that. That's I wanted to take out of the sports motivation. Show love to your loved ones too. We don't always have to just take it from outside of the house source. Take it from inside the house, especially when they're great people. And as you can see, Rick Brunson, greatness. I mean, is he the all-star his son was? No, but to make it in the league that long, all those contracts unguaranteed, to provide for his family and live his dream, that's greatness right there. And he passed it on to his son, who's taking it even further. So shout out to him, and maybe Bronny will do the same. I don't know. I know his dad is Bron, but we'll see. But let me know in the comment section, guys. I am out of here. We are done for the show today. And like I said, we will be back next week. And as I say, sports game, the vision. Peace.